Welcome back to another deal review. Today, we're going to be talking about how we made $5,000 wholesaling a piece of real estate in Alabama. Now, $5,000 is not a significant amount of money, and it's well below the national average assignment fee. That's not the big takeaway. It's more about how we got to that number and how this deal transpired, because this deal actually lasted close to 4 months, but there was a lot of moving pieces to this transaction. We're going to show you the live seller call and talk about each and every one of those moving pieces. Now, as you're about to see in this seller call, the seller recently had a stroke. There was a, I guess, non-paying tenant, but more of like a squatter situation that had to be removed, and that's actually what caused the time length. However, there are some things that you need to know when you go into calling a seller, and this deal was in Hamilton, Alabama, which is very rural Alabama. All right. Now, I did a video, which there will be a link to watch that video at the end of this one, about what to expect when you go to wholesale inside of Alabama. Well, one, I talk about it very frequently. It can have a tendency to have a lower assignment fee than other states in the United States. That's just part of it. But also, rural deals by nature have a lower assignment fee and can be more difficult to dispo. And we ran into that on this deal as well. However, this seller had a stroke, non-paying tenant, squatter situation. The property was physically distressed, and that is where we find our place in the market. As a wholesaler, we solve sellers' problems and we provide equity / deals to our end buyers. And so sometimes you get a lead and it's not going to be the most profitable deal, and it can be frustrating, and maybe you only end up making $5,000. Whereas I've given you examples on this series where we've made $70,000, $80,000, $30,000, $25,000. This is on the flip side of that spectrum, where the problem, it took a lot of work and maybe it was a little bit more difficult to dispo, but that's the hard that I have chosen here at Titanium. I am okay with doing these types of deals because I want that volume. I want acquisitions to be easier for us, and the hard that I've chosen is doing rural, to do the more difficult dispositions, making that the hard part of what we do here at Titanium. So let's get into the seller call, and I'll catch you on the backside to explain what happens after we get this signed contract.
Hello?
Hi, is Jeremy there?
It's me.
Hey, Jeremy, this is RJ Bates calling about your property there on Autumn Street. How are you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Pretty good. You just entered this on my website saying you want to sell that property. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All righty. How much you looking to get for that property?
What did I? 150,000.
150?
That's just what I'm asking,
I gotcha.
And it does come with an additional roughly 4 acres of land back behind it that is connected to it. So.
Okay. And is that a house or what is it?
Yes.
Gotcha. And it's 3,400 square feet?
No, not that big.
Or is it 1,700?
It's closer to 1,700.
Okay.
I've had a stroke, so my memory is not the best in the world.
I gotcha. No worries.
So, which is one of the reasons I wanted to sell the place. Leasing or renting it out just is too much work. I'd rather just, sell it and be done with it and enjoy the rest of my days.
Gotcha. Is it vacant right now or is it occupied?
It's working on being vacated. The wife is still there, but the husband has already moved out and has been out there for over a month. I had the rental agreement with him before she moved in. So I'm waiting on her to get moved out because we didn't have any agreement.
I see.
For it. So.
Were they paying rent or are they non-paying?
Yeah. They were paying rent, and it was very amicable. They were still are friends of mine.
I see.
So.
All righty. What is the condition like? Does the property need any work?
I think there is a pane of glass that it's in fair shape, livable shape. I think windows need replacing. Let's see. The basement could probably use some work.
But what about the roof and the HVAC and stuff like that? Is that in good condition?
The central unit is relatively new. It's less than 10 years old. Because I had it replaced the year before I moved up to Huntsville. And that was in 2017.
Gotcha.
So. But the roof, let's see, the roof is roughly 10 years old, 20-year shingles.
Okay. All right, bear with me. I'm looking at some different properties around the area.
I guess I could have waited to munch on my apple in your ear. I'm sorry about that, man.
Oh, I couldn't even hear it. Don't worry about that. So you said there's 4 acres on this as well, right?
Yes, sir, roughly. In addition to the plot of land that the house itself is on.
Is that a separate Address?
I really honestly don't know. It's the plot of land that's direct. If you're looking at the website, the Marion County website,
Uh-huh.
it would be the plot of land directly behind it.
Gotcha. I see that.
So, how much acreage is that again? Is it showing on there?
Well, I'm not on that website. I'm on a different one.
Fair enough.
And what it says is 1.6 acres for the address of 324 Autumn. So I'm thinking that there's another plot behind it that you own as well. And that's what's getting us to the 4 acres.
Right.
I'm thinking I need to be about 120.
You said 120?
Yes, sir.
Honestly, I could probably do that. I think that would be a fair price. I hate bargaining. I really do.
Me too.
So, with, that would be helping me out, and I'm sure it would, you would make money on it too when you go to resell it. So,
and I'll be honest with you, I'm being fair on my numbers. I don't try to lowball people or anything like that. That's why I always try to ask people up front, how much do you want? So I have an idea. If I can just make that work. What I'm really seeing is there are a couple of properties around there that sold for more. Then there's a couple that have sold for right in that 150 range. And I'm assuming that there's been tenants there and they're moving out. I'm probably going to have to come in and do, some rehab to the property for sure. That's where I'm coming up with that 120. So the way our process works is if you're okay with that, I send over a contract to your email, which I have.
is correct, sir.
Okay. So I would send over the agreement to that email. Once you sign that, I'm going to need to gain access to the property. Now, I know that's a problem right now because we have a tenant inside it, right?
Right.
And I'm assuming she's not participating or playing nice, right?
Yeah, she's was not very happy about the idea of vacating. So,
right.
Like I said, we were at one point in time friends. So, I was hoping she would, play nice, but, she doesn't have any, lease with her name on it that I've signed. So, like I said, the original agreement I had about the whole thing was with her husband.
Right.
Long before, they even got married, before they even got together.
Well, what's the time frame of getting her removed from the property?
Hopefully less than 3 months.
Okay.
Is that too far?
No, but what I will say is I would like to close when she moves out, if that's okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, whenever she moves out, then we can schedule closing and stuff. But I don't want to essentially buy her too, you know.
Right, right. Yes, she will. Now, I'm not sure, but I think I still have a couple of pieces of furniture inside the house that I'll need to get out, or I want to get out, like my grandmother's table.
Okay.
But other than that, sorry, man.
No worries.
My sinuses are giving me fits.
No worries.
Ever since I had the stroke and drink and all that kind of stuff just put me.
Take your time, man. Don't worry about it.
Oh, I appreciate your patience. Okay, that's better. So yeah, I can get the stuff out.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, whenever the tenant moves out, we can schedule closing for whenever we need it to be, so we can give you time to get that stuff moved out.
Okay. Oh. Well, let me get you said you were going to email me a contract.
Yes, sir. I'm writing it up right now.
Okay. And it'll have a way to reach you?
Yes, I will make sure to put my phone number right below my signature.
Okay. And what did you say your name was again?
My name is RJ Bates.
RJ Bates?
Yep.
B-A-T-E-S?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Bates, I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate you, and let's make this a smooth, simple transaction.
Yes, sir.
All righty. Well, Jeremy, I'll get this written up. I'll get it sent over to you. Feel free to give me a call whenever you get it if you have any questions, okay?
All right, Mr. Bates, I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your professional courtesy with me, and thank you for being understanding.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jeremy.
All right, you have a blessed day, okay?
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so the seller wanted $150,000, but it was really kind of an unknown number. And like he said, it's just his asking price. We ended up getting the property under contract for $120,000. That was the signed original agreement. However, it took over 3 months for the property to become vacant and for us to gain access to even see the condition. And that's where the issues really started. Was the condition was in far worse. It was bad. And the seller was upset, because the seller, unfortunately, when we deal with sellers in these positions where they have a number in mind, like 150,000, and then we contract it for 120,000, they mentally think they've already come down $30,000 on their price. However, that price was a fairy tale. It wasn't a real tangible number to begin with. And so Justin was doing dispositions on this deal, and he did a great job of navigating the conversation with the seller. And it was multiple conversations. sometimes I get questions from you guys about how to renegotiate and how to price drop because it didn't go well the first time. It needs to be a very educational experience, and that's what Justin did a great job with the seller. Now, his health was declining, and it was really a tragic situation that he was even having to deal with this real estate transaction because he had so much going on with his health, and then the property was in horrible condition. So one of the ways that we got him to come down on his price was explaining to him, listen, we are going to wholesale this property. And what we will do is we will put this in front of as many buyers as possible. And all that we want to make on this is $5,000. That is how we actually got to our wholesale fee on this deal. It wasn't because of a price drop and then tacking on the $5,000. We were just transparent about what we were going to do here. And so because of the condition, the original price drop that we thought we need to go down to was $70,000, but it actually ended up being $45,000. So $105,000 less than what the seller originally believed. And it took 4 months of us continuing to follow up, talk to the seller, kind of coach them through the eviction process, and kind of also be a shoulder for him to cry on and kind of be there for him as he was going through his health issues and the eviction process, and then finding out the property was in far worse condition. So a very lengthy transaction, not a ton of money, $5,000. But I've said this time and time again, guys, a lot of times the ones that you make the least amount of money are going to be the ones that you also have to do the most amount of work. And that was true with this one. And so at the end of the day, I'm proud of my team. I'm proud of Justin for how he navigated those conversations, really educating the seller on the comps, explaining the buyer's feedback, explaining why the buyers were coming back with the prices that they were coming back with. And that's twofold, right? You have to have a great conversation with the end buyer to actually get the appropriate feedback, and then be able to translate that into normal person terms, which is the seller, and translating that message and relaying it over to the seller. So Justin, you did a great job. Even though we only made $5,000, that's not the big part about this. It's the fact that we helped the seller out, we moved the deal, and we also made a ton of buyer relationship in an area in which we had never done a deal. Even though we had done a lot of deals in Alabama, we had never done a deal anywhere near Hamilton, Alabama, until this one. So let me know what you guys think. Have you guys ever done a similar type of transaction where you didn't make a ton of money, but at the end of the day, you helped the seller and you looked at it in a positive light and said, hey, now that we've got this done, we can do more deals and the next ones be more profitable. Make sure you show me some love. Give me a like on this video. We'll see you guys on the next one.